Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another match reaction in the Premier League where Arsenal are so fucking unserious. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel and getting into the chat, letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. I was very, very, very close to not doing this because I'm just like, I barely even watched the game because we're so bad in the Premier League. And it's like they give, I don't want to say that they give like no effort, but it's so noticeable when you go from the Real Madrid game to what we did today that they're just not motivated in the Premier League at all. And that wouldn't annoy me so much if Champions League was fully wrapped up. With the way that we're not picking up points, if we get like, do they not realize that we have Newcastle and Liverpool to play at the very end of the season? Like, it's not like we have Leicester and Southampton. We've dropped so many points, and I mean, Nottingham Forest are like 5 points behind us. Oh no, they're not. Sorry, hold on. They're 5 points behind us. And then Man City are 7. And then Aston Villa is 8. And that seems like a big gap until they put together 2 wins in a row. And we only nick 2 points from our next couple of games. My biggest concern with us right now is not that, I mean, the Premier League is what it is. We're not going to win it. But you need to pick up some points. You need to win like 2 games on the bounce just to put this fully behind us, because one, it's hard to watch. Like, our next 2 games are Ipswich and Crystal Palace. If you can't win those 2 fucking games, I'm done. Because then your next 3 games are Bournemouth, Liverpool, and Newcastle. You win those 2 games, you're not going to hear nothing else from me. But this not picking up points, the only reason why they haven't caught us is because everybody else is so fucking inconsistent. If everybody else wasn't so inconsistent, we'd be in trouble, because we don't seem to be able to lift ourselves up enough to go get another goal after the other team is equalized. We either don't score at all, or we score 1, and instead of putting the game away or defending like we have some sense, we concede, and then for the next however long it is, we just kind of pass the ball sideways and backwards, look frustrated with each other. I felt Declan Rice so much when they showed him getting on, when he came off. I felt that so badly when he looked so upset, and I'm like, he should be. That was a soft goal that we gave up. It was just sloppy, and they had scored the goal that was just meant to end the game. And it's just, at this stage, it's just fucking tiring. It just is. I mean, we beat Chelsea, we beat Fulham, and then now we've drawn 2 on the bounce to 2 teams that we really should be beating. So it's just annoying, but they really do know how to bring you right back down to earth. The Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of this team is so, so deep. And I get that we're mostly focusing on Champions League, but the level, you can't just try. We're not good enough to put in shit performances in the Premier League and then go into Champions League and be super good. And then we're just not good enough for that shit. So they're so annoying, man. They're so annoying, because that game was just, the whole first half, I was like, I just want my life back. I'm tired of watching you guys in the Premier League because you just don't do enough. You don't actually like, there's no intensity. You're not playing quickly. Um, I feel like the only player in the first half that I thought beyond like the back line that played well, actually, it was a part of the back line, is Tierney. It, you know, like maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping and it doesn't matter, and maybe I'm just traumatized, but I'm not feeling like super good about this whole keep dropping points thing, because I'm not trying to get to the Liverpool Newcastle game and we got to win those games to keep our spot in the Champions League spots. I'm not, I'm really not trying to see that. That Ipswich game on Sunday, that the Crystal Palace game on Wednesday, I'm so fucking sorry, but you need to get 6 points from those two games. Hopefully everybody else is inconsistent, and then that will pretty much make it a formality. But if we drop more points, it's going to get tight at the end, and we don't need that. Like, we don't need that. We don't have the ability to lift the level. If it gets to the point at the end of the season where we actually have to try to make it into Champions League, we won't make it. You know, we did so much. I feel like we've done so much decent work to get ourselves into this position where it's pretty much like we just have to win a couple of games. Let's just do that and be serious for once. Like, I cannot watch this in the Premier League. It's so hard because they just are. It's been flat all season. It's felt like the longest season of my life, and outside of the Real Madrid game, there's nothing really to even look at, you know? Johnny D says Champions League is assured. Don't worry, top 5 get CL credit to us beating Real Madrid in Europa League and Conference. You say that. You say that. We're not picking up points. Like, we're picking up like 1 point here and 1 point there. We really need to just put it away and just make it so that even if we do play poorly, it doesn't really matter. But I'm not feeling as confident as you guys are. I know my team. If there's anything on it and there's pressure, we're gonna fuck it up. Newcastle, Liverpool at the end of the season. We have to go to Anfield and we have to beat Newcastle. We don't do well either one of those. Those could be zeros. So Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, you need to win those games. Johan says our record at home this season is terrible. We draw too much. Like Gunnar says, 12 draws in the Premier League is so bad, and it just feels like the same thing. It's like we get the goal and then we concede a soft one or whatever. The last 2 games were a carbon copy of each other. Now, to be fair, Everton shouldn't have got the penalty. That's never a penalty, but they scored that goal, the equalizer, in the 49th minute of play. And so it was right after halftime when they scored that, and we didn't look like scoring at any point after that. After Brentford scored, we didn't look like scoring at any point after that. So that's my point. It's like the amount of games that we drew is just ridiculous. I know we came back against Man United. Nobody scored anything between Nottingham Forest and Arsenal. That's ridiculous. All of our games have been incredibly tight. We lost to West Ham. We barely beat Leicester 2-0. We scored both of those at the very, very end. We barely beat Wolves 1-0. We had the odd game against Man City. We drew against Aston Villa. Pathetic. It's just, you looking back at our games, they're so tight. Like, all of them are so tight, except for like one here, one there, where we actually like did what we needed to do. That Fulham game, like, come on, man. So yeah, we've drawn way too many games this season, and it just feels like if a mid-table team has a couple of decent players that can put them on the back of the net, it is almost rest assured that they will get a goal, and that'll be it. Because whether we have to chase it down, we may be able to muster a goal, maybe. And if we muster the one, we're definitely not going to muster the second one to actually get the win. Or we go up, fall asleep, let them have a goal, and then we just sleepwalk to the draw. Like, it's just annoying. Whatever. We're not, I think Josh is saying we're 10-4-1 at home, relax. I don't think our home record is terrible, but I do think that in general this season, we've just been poor by the standards that we've set over the last 2 seasons. So it's just, and I think it's not so much just the results, it's the performances are really poor, in my opinion. The level is just too is too low. It's very flat. Everything is just flat. I don't know how to describe our form and the way that our performances in the Premier League have been flat. There's no energy, there's no vibe. Players that played out of their fucking skull against Real Madrid played like they didn't know how to kick a ball today, Martinelli. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't have the energy for it. I really considered not even watching today because I knew some fuck shit was going to happen. And I get it that we're going to make it into the Champions League spots but all you need to do is lose a couple more games or drop some more points. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to be 3 points behind us, 1 point behind us, 2 points behind us, and it's not going to be fun. We need a gap. We're only going to be able to do this with a gap. Mata says, you know that feeling when Martinelli gets the ball in the last minute. Life of BOJ says, when you watch Trossard, you just can see he's unserious. He was really bad today. Oliver says, we weren't really trying today. We were fully focused on Madrid. I don't think we are good enough to just think that we can play flat in the Premier League and then I don't know. Maybe it feels okay to you guys, but fair enough. Whatever. I don't think we're good enough to just be able to just throw the Premier League games and just not give a fuck. And a lot of the players that came in and played today should be trying to play because they need to find new fucking homes in the summer. Zinchenko, you need to find a new home in the summer and you're just doing fuck shit. Like, come on, 170 Gunner says, boring game. Are you going to our women's UCL semis versus Leon? No, I'm in LA. No, I'm not going. Nico says that's a bullshit excuse. But that's the thing, though. It's like every single time that there's always an excuse why it's okay for us not to play well at sometimes. And it's like, I get it that there's a way to play not at your maybe highest peak, but still get the job done. And we don't have the ability to get the job done. That's why I'm saying we're not the type of team that can we're not, how last season and the season prior, we got a lot of those professional 2-0 wins. Like those professional 2-0 wins. It wasn't like we were perfect. It wasn't like we were flying, but we got the first goal, we got the second goal, and we just kind of managed the game. There's been no sense of that all season. That's what I'm saying. Our level is so flat that we can't do the get the 2 goals and then just cruise. We get 1 goal maybe and cruise, or we cruise the whole time and don't score any. So we're not in a place right now where we can just not give the effort. And I get that we're just looking at the Champions League, but I'm telling you right fucking now that as comfortable as it feels right now, all it's going to take is 2 game weeks of us not getting any points against Ipswich or Crystal Palace or even just 2, and they're going to be up our ass. I'm just telling you. Victor says that lack of individual quality in our team is so appalling. After the goal, we did nothing. Seeing the UCL games compared to this one is so eye-opening. They know that we are getting Champions League football. They better know it. They better know it. They better know it. They better know it. They better fucking know it because they better get Champions League and it better be a formality very soon. I'm tired of it. No. No one is saying it's okay. Of course it isn't. Just look at the difference between Everton and Madrid than today. Their minds are all on Madrid and the UCL for better or for worse. We're just not at that stage yet. And I expect us to, that team that we put out today was more than good enough to beat Brentford. Brentford didn't do anything special throughout the game. They got 1 chance really and put it in the back of the net, which is kind of the story of our season, So I expected that team to score a goal or 2 in the first half, and they didn't. And they finally got one from starters, main players. And they basically won the game for us, and they just couldn't even ride it out. They couldn't even ride it out. It's just, Brentford scored 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes later. So it's just annoying. But I get it, that, mind is on Madrid, but we still should be able to take care of business at home against Brentford. And we didn't do that. And we haven't been taking care of business all season. So, Yeah, it's not even just we're just our minds are just on Madrid. We've seen these performances from the very beginning of the season, so it's not just about trying to keep ourselves safe for Madrid. We haven't been good enough, whether it's home or away at all. We've drawn 12 games already this season. I don't think it's lack of effort. It's just lack of attack and quality, something we already knew. This season can end horribly wrong. People are still on a high from the Madrid game. Oliver says the other teams aren't good enough to be consistent. Listen, I hear what you guys are saying, and I do think that the main reason why we still have a gap now is because they're inconsistent. But I would prefer us to put our hopes and our dreams in our own hands and just get the 1 or 2 wins that we need to just kind of solidify things a little bit more and not leave it up to their inconsistency to keep us in the Champions League, because we know no one does us favors. When's the last time somebody's done us a favor and been shit for the whole, beat the person that we need them to beat, or be shit long enough for us to cruise into a position? It's never happened. That's what I'm telling you guys, is if this season hasn't taught you anything, it should have taught you that if something will go wrong, it will. This has been the season of hell. And so I just want for one moment for Arsenal to take responsibility and take it out of other teams' hands, take it out of City's hand. You really want our future in City's hands? You really want our future, our next season in Chelsea's hands? You really want that shit? Like, no. So it would just be better if we would just win two games on the bounce. I know it's so hard to do, but win 2 games on the bounce, professional wins, not too much effort, but just enough so that if you get 6 points in the next 2 games, it's done. But if you don't get any points or you get 2, I'm telling you right now, they'll have just enough consistency to make it hot enough in the kitchen for us to fuck it up. We're just not good enough, like, to be thinking that we can just ride it out in the form that we're riding it out now. Oliver says Forest did us a favor by losing their last 2 games. So what? But I get what you guys are saying, and you're thinking glass half full. You better hope that if we maintain this level, that everybody else just decides not to win a single game from now until the end of the season behind us. So Johnny says Chelsea isn't good enough to fight for the title. I don't think they'll finish top 3 next season. Diallo says this convo is actually moot. We aren't any realistic danger of missing a UCL. It's all a concocted worry that I am buying. Erwin says another Trossard stinker. Can't wait to see the back of this guy. So yeah, we'll see. Burmy says, can you imagine if we beat Real Madrid and move on to the semis, get knocked out, and then draw, lose our remaining Premier League games, and drop out of UCL? I think people are talking crazy. I really do think that they act like they've never seen teams not, do what we need them to do in order for us to just get what we need to get. So just because Nottingham Forest drop points, just because Chelsea keep dropping points, they will stop. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't feel comfortable just continuing to drop points. And the more that we need other teams to be inconsistent, the less likely they'll maintain that inconsistency. We are not going to beat Newcastle or Liverpool. We're not. So you can just take those points away. So Ipswich, Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth, get those points, call it a day, end it so that we don't have to think about this anymore, and we can just totally click off of this season if we're out of Champions League. I want to rid myself of this season. It's been a nightmare, but I can't, because we're literally still they're not really talking about it, but you can tell that even the commentators are like, oh, well, Arsenal, anything can happen. I don't like this. Let's see. Laughing Man says Bossard will score a winner in the semifinal. Oliver says it's not a regular season though, so you can't think about what happened in the past when it comes to how good other teams are. Dark says at this point, want the season declared over by tomorrow. I want that. I want it over so bad, but it won't be over until we actually qualify for Champions League. We haven't qualified yet, and we keep that gap. That gap a couple of weeks ago was 8 points, and it's dropped down to 5. So I'm just telling you, get in it, get strapped in, because Arsenal are about to make it squeaky bum for the rest of the season because they're deeply unserious. Just said we'll win another 2 games by accident if nothing else. Rice is a joker, did all that hard work to help us score the goal only to not shut down the Brentford player crossing it in. There was a lot of bad defending in that one play. If you want to blame it on Rice, you can. Charles says United versus Chelsea, Chelsea versus Newcastle, Villa versus United, Villa versus Newcastle, nothing to worry about. Okay. Jordan says, why can't they play the way they did against Madrid every game? They've been mentally checked out of the Premier League for a long, long time. I think somebody said it before that, and I was like, this is probably the most true thing, that they said that Stone's goal in the final minute of the game against, Man City at the Etihad has done irreparable damage to Arsenal. They just don't know it yet. And ever since then, our season has slowly unraveled. You get a win there, and I do think that it sets the dominoes off in a different direction, but you don't get the win there. You play several games with 10 men. It's just starting to look like everything is against you. You're getting major injuries to so many players. Like, it's been wild, so I don't know why they can't play, but they've been checked out of the Premier League for a long time, in my opinion. And I think we all know that when we lost to West Ham, it was 100% over. We were just kind of pretending like we were still in it at that point. There was not a single point in this season after the game against Manchester City at the Etihad where I thought that they could win it, because they haven't played like it. When have you thought this season that Arsenal played like a team that thought that they were going to win the league? I'll wait. Saida says, it seems Arsenal fans have forgotten how we don't end our seasons well under Arteta. In addition, whenever we've relied on other teams to bail us out, it hasn't worked in our favor. They do forget. Sugar says, in my opinion, we dropped points last 2 games in preparation for Real Madrid. Whatever happens on Wednesday, we can focus on the league thereafter. Chill, folks. We're second place and got a shot at making Champions League semifinal. Big up Declan. He and Martinelli were tired from the Madrid game, clearly. There was a lot of bad defending in that. Just because a cross comes in doesn't mean you have to. I think Saliba gets out jumped by somebody that's way shorter than him. That other player got the header, and then Timber didn't defend so well. So there was a lot of different things happening there. So yeah, whatever. But yeah, they better win. They better get through against Real Madrid. They must, because there's no point in playing poorly in the Premier League over the last 2 games and not getting through to the next round. So they better do it. Lion I said, what a game by Wanyeri, New Messi, or Jermaine Pennant. I actually thought Wanyeri was off. But he had like a couple of decent moments, but for the majority of the game, he struggled. But, it is what it is. Jordan says mentality is key. Arteta wanted to win this game, but some of these players didn't have the mentality to win the game. Trossard was atrocious. Zinchenko too slow to play passes. Always takes 10 years. I don't think Arteta did anything wrong today, really. I think we were unlucky to go down to 10 men at the end of the game with the injuries. You wouldn't have thought that we would have got that injury. I don't think he did anything wrong today. I think we all knew that we needed to rest key players, and we haven't really been able to give certain players rest, because whenever we rotate or anything, it's like we don't ever get enough goals, or get enough, of a secure win early to rest people or do anything like significant. They always have to come in and try to save us, or, we can't rest them anyway because tough game. Like, it's just bullshit. So I don't think Arteta did anything wrong. I think when the lineup came out, I thought this should be good enough to beat a mid-table Brentford at home, and it wasn't. And so I'm not going to go back and pretend like on hindsight, I think Mikel did anything wrong. They just didn't play well, especially in that first half. It was giving very much like, well, I know the Real Madrid is the more important game, and I'm not going to start in that game, so I'm not going to play hard. Fuck you. Go find somewhere else to be at then. Victor says he's been getting assists, though. His crosses are really good. Mata says crazy Sterling can't even get a game. We basically consider him a dead rubber. That's on him. He should. Nico says Wanyeri hasn't been playing well recently. Yeah, I think but it's one of those things where to me, it's like not like a thing. Like, it doesn't really matter to me, because he's not even meant to be at a certain point in the season, he was like, it was like Ranieri's going to have to save us almost because there was nobody there. Sterling is dead, so, and at that point, even like Martinelli was injured. So it was like Ethan or die. And I thought he did really well in Champions League games and Premier League games to hold us up. He scored a good goal against Brighton. He scored good goals in the Champions League, and he's just kind of run out of gas. I think it's just, and he's getting up to he's not like MLS. MLS is already physically able to handle first team, like men's football, when Yuri's still getting there. So for me, it's just anything, whatever we've gotten so far from Ethan, he can do zeros for the rest of the season. In my opinion, he's done more than he should have ever had to have done. So I'm not surprised that he's hit a little bit of a wall. It happens, but it is what it is, I'm not surprised. Not that deep. We move. We ain't winning the league regardless. MLS's legs look like Olympic weightlifter. Erwin says down to 10 men due to injury and no subs. You can't make that shit up, man. I wanted to turn it off so bad at that point. Mikel was faultless. Berta was there. Trossard is finished at Arsenal. Ash says 8th draw from a winning position, conceding from 3 shots. Thank you for that. It's when we're leading and then we concede, and then right after, we literally cannot muster the second goal. We have a problem getting up to the level to lock another team into, remember when, 2022, 2023 season, if we needed a goal, we had the other team locked in their half, locked. They couldn't get out. I remember trying to win the game at the Emirates against Man United, and I don't even think Jesus wasn't there, because maybe Jesus was there. I don't know. Maybe he was. I don't know. All I know is that we had them locked in for the last 20 minutes of that game. We were battering them. They had to deal with 12, 15 shots in one half. They were getting blammed. And then we finally forced it. We don't force goals at the end of games anymore. There is no winner. Once Brentford scored, I knew. I was like, that's it. I don't know what has happened to this team, and nobody can say it's because of Real Madrid, because like Ash has said, that's the 8th draw from a winning position. It needs to stop. It needs to stop, that needs to go away. And I don't know what it is. It just feels like more of a mentality thing. And then we're so scared to concede that we don't want to throw the men forward or force it. I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know what's wrong with them. Shit. Yeah, so I'm tired of mentally analyzing what's going on with this team. They just need to get over it and start winning games. Toan says we can't smother teams. He wasn't. It was Eddie. Yeah, so it was a different time where if we needed a goal, we were getting that shit. In the 97th minute, 95th minute, we could still be playing now and we would not score. Something is wrong with this team when it comes to that. And that needs to end this season. I don't want to hear about deep blocks and, being able to score winners. I remember in Mikel's, I think his first real season with us, it was a conversation we had a lot about how we couldn't, what if we couldn't come from behind. And the one game that season where we came from behind was against Wolves at home. It was the one time. Then I thought we got rid of it. Now it's fuck, there is no coming back. It's back. I don't know what happened. What happened? Saida says, yep, this season, whenever we've needed a goal, it just doesn't happen. It's a mix of everything. Even scoring the opening goal seems difficult. I mean, the relief when Partey scored the goal, because it was oh, okay, it's not going to be a day like that. But it ended up being like it anyway. I just don't know what's wrong with this fucking team. I love them. I hope that we do well in Champions League, but genuinely, I would do anything not to watch the next 6 games that we have in the Premier League, because it's literally so hard to watch them. They're really like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't know what it is. Let's see. Lionide says Saka giving us the counterattacks Madrid, and now build up to the Brentford goal. Saka giving us a counterattack Madrid and now build up to the Brentford goal. Madrid and now. You mean giving up counterattacks? Is that what you mean? Giving up Madrid and now build up to the Brentford goal? Or are you saying that Saka also should have scored? I mean, they gave us a gift And if Raya had ever made the mistake that Flecken made and Bomo puts it in the back of the net, one thing that must stop next season is the inability to punish teams when they make mistakes. Saka 100% needs to put that in the back of the net. He didn't even get a shot off. And I know he's still coming back from injury, but I just fully expect you to put that in the back of the net. I've never seen a team get given so many gifts and just do not have the ability to just, we need, yeah, he really needed to. But Mike says Arsenal have had more draws than Bob Marley. I just want all this to go away next season. I can't do it anymore. Irwin says facts, just Saka won the ball off the keeper and then took way too long before deciding to shoot, made the defender take the ball off him. I wish Declan had gotten that ball because he would have put it in the back of the net. Johan says 57 goals scored is very poor as compared to our last 2 seasons at the same point. Bulgarian says it's very evident for me, no strikers, none, apart from a few flashes from Trossard and Nelly, have been underwhelming this season. We just need more from our forwards by attackers. I'm with Bulgarian. You guys know how I feel. I think, ultimately when you're packed in the other team's half for like almost the entire game, your attackers need to be able to create football. They need to be able to create actions after actions after actions. And our wide forwards and lack of striker hurts us so much. So much because the ball is at their feet. We're always at the top end of percentages and the data around touches in the attacking or the opposition's penalty area. But the amount of shots that we get is so much less than most other teams. It's just, our attackers just ain't got it. Like they just don't have it. They're not horrendous, but yeah. Kimberly says, literally forgot Sterling is still at the club until I saw him on the bench today. Toan says, seeing that as a positive, he means. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. Saka was atrocious there, horrible decision making. He has to put the ball in the back of the net. He just has to. Seda says Liverpool definitely would have scored in that scenario. Most teams would have scored. If it had happened if Raya gives the ball, we've seen it. When Raya gave the ball straight to like Tottenham last season, they put it in the back of the net. We're the only team, like not the only team, but we're like the only big team that I've seen that really does get gifts and just like shits the bed, And I think even with Saka's like our main attacker, our main guy. But I think that's almost a problem that he's our only attacker and our only good attacker because even he at times for me is not ruthless enough. He's become more ruthless over time and he'll become even more ruthless. But we need a ruthless bastard up there that just will like whatever, any little fuck up, it's going in the back of the net. We need that. We don't have it, and that's not to shade Saka at all, but yeah, man. Vu says we can't deny the psychological aspect of what's coming against Madrid. It's impossible not to have an eye up on it. I agree with you, though. This has to end this year. Blaze says, why are people shocked about our performance in the league? Our attacks and defense are not good enough this season. Josh says, doesn't help that Odegaard is allergic to shooting as well. Seda says 75% of our transfer budget should go on attackers. I can't continue to watch this anymore. Let's see. Jordan says, I wish the league could just be over now. I'm fucking tired. I can't wait. Lionide says, this game didn't matter. Wednesday matters. Vamos. Scott says, she knows fuck all. Latch on to another club. Okay, Scott. Have fun. Blaze says, we need new left winger and especially striker. Our attackers have level of decline after the 2022-2023 season. Dipster says, we are obsessed with walking it into the net even when it's easier to shoot. Yeah, I agree. And as much as this game doesn't matter, I still think every single game to a certain extent, we should expect a certain level of performance, especially when the entire season has pretty much been a low level of performance. Like whether you can pick apart all the games and make excuses for each game individually, because I know there's a lot of people in this fan base that are really good at doing that. But ultimately, when you have 12 draws, this predates knowing that we're going to play Real Madrid. So I can't help but be frustrated, especially because I know this team has the capability of mentally crumbling at the end of the season because we do it every single season. So I just want to see us at least finish strong and put in some professional performances in the Premier League. I'm not saying your best ever performances, but I'm just saying the lack of professional 2-0 wins this season has been really difficult to watch. And today was really no different because I'm not surprised by this score line, and that's because we've seen it 12 times this season. Elle says we need at least 6 signings in the summer. Daniel says, I think personally we will both the league and the Champions League. Big says the only credit I'll give Odegaard is that our press reeks without him. Other than that, he offers nothing of late. Seda says Saka isn't necessarily a goal-scoring winger. He's more of a creator. Martinelli was supposed to be the scorer. Saeed is so smart because if you say at this stage that you don't think Saka is the best goal scorer, you'll get shot down. But it's just the truth. Like Saka we've made him into something, or Arteta's made him into a much more well-rounded attacker, but he's more of a creator. So even when the amount of players that we're trying to force to be things that they're not is why we always end up with less. I just wish Arsenal would do the obvious thing every once in a while. And if you want more goals, instead of bringing in a player that's rotting away at Chelsea and trying to make him into something that he never was in the beginning, just buy the striker. Jesus, instead of trying to give him an opportunity to become the striker that he was meant to be at City, just go buy the guy, the real guy that's the number 9. Just go get the players instead of trying to make them into something else. The amount of players that we have that that's not their natural thing, and we're trying to make them do something else. I understand trying to coach them up, but there's always going to be, in my opinion, a wall. You are what you are. Saka should be our main assister up front. He's more of like the Lamine Yamal. We need a Rafinha on the other side and a Lewandowski in center forward. Bad. And it's not to shade Saka. He's our best player. He's our most dangerous attacker. But I think if you say Saka's your most dangerous attacker and he's your best goal scorer up front, you probably do need to look at that because that's not really his tea. You need other people to come up with it. System says, who got injured? Jorginho. Victor says, Saka is a true winger. Our left wingers were supposed to be more attack-minded, goal-scoring wingers, but the 2 guys are bozos. That's why I think we're interested in Cunha. Jordan says, heard Party might be injured. Nah, you have to be bloody joking. Maybe all that running up and down the sideline. Laughing Man says it's been a crazy year with all the injuries and cards, but yet we can still win the Champions League with a good summer window. I think we can destroy everyone next year. Johnny says Martinelli was supposed to be the guy who falls on his nose or on his ass. Today was his ass. Is that what that's supposed to say? Yeah, I think so. 2 games ago was his face. He is building up to be all that we hope for and more. I mean, I was getting pelters the other day about Martinelli, and yeah, he played well, in the one game, but the performance that he put in today is who he's pretty much been for 2 seasons. So nothing has changed. It's just you had a good game, essentially. Nico says Arteta on Partey, he felt something, so we didn't want to take any risk. We don't know. We haven't spoken to the doctors yet. Listen, I don't know what to tell you guys. If Partey is injured and Jorginho's also looked injured, so and you wouldn't want Jorginho to have to come into this game anyway. That would be a huge L, I think, for Mikel, because playing Partey at right back does kind of put you in a situation where he has to put himself into more running positions where he's stretching. He did a lot of running up and down the sideline. One of them ended up being, getting the goal, which I think we all appreciate. But if you didn't even get the win and then he got injured, and we know that Partey the right back situation doesn't work. And I know that Ben White but you could have, there's other things that you could have done, even if it was awkward, there were other things you could have done. It wouldn't have been a natural right back, but you wouldn't have risked Partey for, the Real Madrid game. So if Partey is not good to go for Real Madrid, that's a huge L for us because we haven't beaten Brentford, and now he'd be injured. So when I saw him, that's probably the only thing on the team sheet that I looked at sideways was, yeah. Daniel says, oh no, you said that. I already read that. Jordan says, I have no hope for UCL anymore. We are Jekyll and Hyde FC. I just want to see some consistency. Jordan says playing Partey at right back was foolish. I don't think that Arteta will recover from the backlash if Partey is injured. I think maybe I'm being dramatic, but whether it's hasn't worked because he's played poorly there, because the last time that he played right back, was out for a significant amount of time. He was out for almost the entire season, last season after playing right back for a couple of games. I just don't think that that's going to be a good look. So yeah, I mean, because that changes everything, especially because Jorginho also got injured and had to come off. So um the best you can probably hope for is hopefully that Partey is fit. Uh, and also we know an injured Partey or an on the edges of an injury Partey is significantly different than a fit one. So I'm not quite sure. I'm hoping that it was precautionary. But if he's injured and no Jorginho, you have to play Declan Rice at the 6. That's going to impact us. He's our best left 8 as well. And I don't particularly want to see Trossard at left center mid. So, yeah, that would be a real fuck up. I'm like even trying to think how you shuffle things around to make sure that you don't fuck up, because essentially you want to keep the back line exactly as you already have a weekend back line going to Real Madrid. You don't want to have to move Miles Lewis Skelly to midfield, which I know he wouldn't do, but that would be an option. That's that Partey injury actually impacts us quite significantly, especially with Jorginho going down as well. Nico says if Partey is injured, write the season off. The season is pretty much already written off. It's like we got a lifeline because we beat Real Madrid in the first leg. The season was pretty much a write-off anyway. Jordan says exactly, got injured playing right back last season. Amina says it's concerning how we can't compete in all competitions simultaneously and win. Why can't we get it over the line? I don't know. Everybody just says it's okay. We're just not thinking. We're just thinking about Real Madrid. So everything has been fine this season, injuries, whatever. It's all okay. No big deal. Victor says, nah, come on. What was he supposed to do at right back? I'm not a top gooner, but Arteta watches these guys every day. I think Partey is our best option right now. Timber getting injured would be so much worse. I'm just saying, even just there are players that you just cannot afford to lose. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to play poorly against Brentford anyway and super, because Partey was one of the people that I said needed to be rested. I wanted Rice rested. He had to play both of them from the very beginning. Saka needed rest. And maybe, Miles Lewis-Skelly needed rest too. I'm saying it would have been awkward and it wouldn't have been easy, but you could have played Zinchenko. You could have played Zinchenko, left back and Tierney right back. It would have been awkward and fucked up, but then you wouldn't have risked Thomas Partey at right back. And that's what I'm saying. People was like, there's no other options. There are options. There are options. There were other options. Again, I get that it wouldn't have been easy, but you already did all the other shit. You wanted to make a statement with not starting Sterling. You could have started Sterling. Marino could have started in midfield. That Zinchenko could have played at left back, and then Tierney could have played right back. There were other options. You just didn't want to do that. And I get that maybe we don't score the goal then, but we didn't win anyway. So I don't know, guys. Partey just kind of has to be fit, because the repercussions of that, because somebody was like next man up. Jorginho also got injured in this game. So there is no next man up except for moving Declan to the 6. And then what do we do in midfield? Because I don't want to see Marino dropped into midfield. I think he needs to stay up front. We don't have another option at left center mid. Every other option at left center mid beyond Marino is something that we've never seen before. And I'm not quite sure that that's That would be great, you know? AXZ says, "Get Trossard gone in the summer." He might end up gone. You know, I think here's the thing. I know we're just talking about whatever now, but I really do think that, like, with Jesus's injury has to is gonna have to is gonna impact the summer window because you need to get those wages and some sort of fee for somebody, and I think they were counting on being able to sell Jesus, and now that they can't, I think that's why we haven't heard anything about Partey re-signing, and now even Trossard, where there were rumors about giving him a new deal, it's stalled. They need to find money and wages somewhere. And so maybe that does end up being Jorginho leaving on the free, Thomas Partey leaving on the free, Trossard getting sold, because Trossard is probably the one outside of Zinchenko is probably the only player that you can look at to maybe sell for a decent fee. When I say decent, I mean like 25, you know, from like Saudi or 30 from Saudi or something like that. So I could see Trossard ended getting sold. I just, you know, I'm not attached to anybody that plays up front for Arsenal except for Saka. Everybody can go. I don't have any sort of attachment to any of them. So outside of the fact that like I like them as people, like whatever, but like let's be honest, we really could start over in that department if we really needed to. So um yeah, if Trossard ends up going, it is what it is, you know. But fees need to come from somewhere because we will need to sell something this summer. And without being able to sell Jesus, somebody's going to have to go. And to me, the next kind of like dangling fruit there is probably Trossard. So I could see him going. It is what it is. I like Trossard. Maybe, you know, he's outstaying his welcome just a little bit now because he's not performing as consistently as he was the season prior. But you know, it is what it is. I know there's going to have to be a sale, and if it's not Martinelli, then it would need to be Trossard because the two of them together is not good enough. You know, it's just not, is it? My Night says, Jorginho looked like a bruised rib. Nico says Martinelli and Trossard, Dumb and Dumber. It's not good enough. Saida says it's between Trossard and Martinelli. I reckon Trossard is older. He's the one getting sold. Let's see. Boy says both Martinelli and Trossard have to go. I don't think both of them will go though. I think it'll just be one. Nico says Trossard attitude actually stinks. I've never said that about an Arsenal player. You've never said somebody's attitude stinks as for an Arsenal player besides Trossard. How long you been watching the team? How long you been watching Arsenal? Trossard's attitude is tame compared to some of the players that we've had in the past because Arsene didn't care about attitudes. Arsene didn't care about attitudes. He had some smelly attitudes on his teams. I'll tell you that for sure. But in terms of in the Arteta era, there is something about Trossard that's a little edgy. And he's been more inconsistent this season than he has in the seasons past, the last two seasons. And you can just envision a world next season where he's not here. And it's not like we're dying for him to stay, but that Jesus injury means that somebody else is probably going to have to go. You know, those wages that we want to give to Saka and Saliba, and then the new players coming in are going to have to come from somewhere. And so they'll come from them because we have a lot of players leaving on the free, but not a lot of players that are going to give decent fees. I would imagine Kivior might fetch you like a 15 million, Zinchenko maybe 20. Trossard is the next best thing to get you some cash, you know, because Partey, Jorginho, and Tierney are all free, you know, and Tavares and them aren't going to get you anything. So yeah, it's yeah, Trossard, it is what it is, buddy. You know, I like Trossard, but it is what it is, buddy. I don't really care at this stage anymore. Let's see. We're going to just get that person out because they're spamming the chat. Nico says, the thing is, I don't care if he has an attitude, but the fact that he drops consistent stinkers makes it worse. Victor says, allow me to introduce you to pre-Arteta pal. If you haven't seen attitudes like Trossard, listen, we've had one thing Arsene didn't really, I wouldn't say he didn't care about, but he was less of a stickler for people staying in line. I think Arsene cared more about the talent than Mikel does. Mikel cares more about, are you going to follow the directions? Um, so Trossard would fit right in with the Nasseries and these guys, so the Adebayors, these guys. Ozil didn't have the best. I think once Arsene left, Ozil's attitude got worse, but I think he always had like a little something, a little like, so yeah, it is what it is. A boy says RVP and Chesney smoked while playing at Arsenal. Trossard is out simply on his performance. Victor says we actually have no assets. Wow. Look at it. I mean, when you actually look at it, like read it. Like look at the group of players that we have. There aren't a lot of assets on there. There's not a lot of players that you can see fetching decent. No, we're not in the 30 to 40 million pound selling range. We're in the 15 to 20 million, if we're honest, so eking out an extra 20 million may not make the biggest difference, but it must be done in a summer where we need a lot of shit, so Trossard may be on his way out. Definitely Zinchenko is on his way out. And then the rest of the people that are out on loan. I'm not sure how we're going to get rid of Reese. He keeps getting injured. So yeah, it's crazy. Nico says, at least those guys were performing. Ash says, we have assets, but all of them are the ones that will be starters. Jordan says, I'm glad Edu is gone and we have Berta. I feel like the future of this team is in safe hands. Victor says, Trossard, Nelly, Kivior, Jorginho, we have no assets to sell. We got to use up that UCL money. Got to get past Real Madrid. I think, I want to feel really confident, but I just want to like kind of just, we should be going through. I think it's performances like today that really give me pause on like the whole winning the Champions League thing, but I know that we're showing a different face and all that kind of stuff. So we should be going through. But I would just love to see Arsenal build up some sort of momentum instead of having horrible performances in the Premier League and then turning around and being a completely different team in the Champions League. Because the Real Madrid are trying to like rattle and intimidate, with all the stuff coming out about they want to choke us with the roof closed down and, all kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I just hope you guys, whatever you did in this game to save yourself from, for the Madrid game and all the excuses that are being made for today's game actually end up not meaning anything because we end up going through. Because all of this would not, it means nothing if you don't go through. So yeah, John says it wasn't a horrible performance. It was mid. We haven't had many horrible performances. That's the thing, Johnny. We haven't had many horrible performances. I've said this since the beginning. We have been flat since the beginning. I can only think of maybe like one or two performances that I thought were genuinely bad. But this season, it's just, we cannot get to that next 5% that you need to, keep the goal out in the first place. And if you do concede, get the next goal to win it. I'm not saying that. I've seen Arsenal play way worse than what we did today. So, and a lot of it hasn't come this season. It just feels like we've been kind of under the surface from the beginning. We can't really get to that next octave. We can't really get to that next step. And every game feels incredibly flat. Whether we win it or not is more to me based on whether or not the other team can muster up one or two chances, because if they can muster two, it's guaranteed that one of them is probably going to go in, and that's going to be enough. So yeah, it's not that we played horrible. It's just we're flat or very flat in every single game this season, mostly in the Premier League. Dipster says horrible to watch, though. We are hard to watch in the Prem. Nico says Madrid are a satanic club. I wouldn't put it past them to pull it off. Big says, honestly, I don't care about this game as long as we go through. We must go through. I mean, you have nothing else to really fight for, so I'm not really like, I'd love more consistent and better performances in the Premier League to just make sure that Champions League is really well and truly like sewn up. but to not go through after having a 3-goal lead, I think would be really damaging. We've had quite a few damaging situations under Mikel Arteta with this particular group. I don't know if I think that this group will be able to flip this into a positive. You know, we've tried to flip all the negative traumas that have come at the back end of seasons under Mikel into positives or next seasons and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, every single back end of the seasons under Mikel have been really damaging and traumatic. So I'm not even sure that anybody really has gotten over some of the things that have happened. So going up with a 3-0 and all the hype that's been made after that, not going through, I do think would be really damaging for this group after so much stuff has already happened. The first season, the second season, now this, they kind of have to go through. Um, you know, why is fans being let down by this draw? It means nothing. Wednesday matters. Team is rested. Most important. Um, because we're not through yet. Blaze says, Jess, did you see the way Real Madrid and the media are attacking Arsenal? I'm shocked because they wasn't this angry when they played City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I just think like, you know, they when the game started, we had no chance. Our fans had written us off, the media had written us off. It was a formality that Arsenal were just there to let Real Madrid run over them. We're a team with this is the ultimate heritage team against the team that is most known for not having any heritage in Europe. And we played them off the park and then beat them 3-0. And I think they've taken offense to the fact that it was us more than anything. They respect the other teams a lot more. They didn't respect us. And so, which I said from the beginning that Real Madrid wouldn't respect us. They weren't going to sit back. I don't know who was saying that they were going to sit back and be like, you know, the teams in the Premier League and sit back and do tactics. No, they didn't fucking sit back. They thought that they were going to go bar for bar, band for band with us, and their Galactico situation would outdo a team with no striker. And it backfired on them. So now they're offended that we even had the audacity to beat them. And so they're making it personal. They need to make it personal. But that's just how they are anyway, because when Vinny doesn't win the Ballon d'Or, they made it incredibly personal. And then they lost another game earlier on this season, and they were doing up a lot of like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So this is just what they do. And they're trying to intimidate. And it's working on me. I just hope it's not working on the players. You know? Yeah, we weren't supposed to beat them according to every narrative. Also, the way we beat them was so insulting. People don't have respect for us, especially their players. Look at their crappy press. Vic says Real Madrid play with vibes, not tactics, all individual brilliance, nothing from the eyebrow gimmick merchant. We just have to be careful and not make mistakes. Kevin says they respect us now. Nico says, honestly, just fold the club if we don't go through. Johnny says, you know what's funny, just in chat, we're the only club in the universe by a long shot where in less than 2 months we might raise a statue to a manager or want him out. Fuming. Abdilo says, how big of a priority is a number 10 for you? If we do buy Hoyson, but has a 60 million release clause and not get one, I'll lose my mind. I think a number 10 is way lower on the priority list for me than probably a lot of other people. There is no way that a number 10 is more important than a striker or a left winger. 90% of our problems go away if you just have competent attackers where you give them the ball and they can get a shot off, they can beat their man, they actually score goals, they don't trip over their feet when they try to beat their man, you know, they actually strike through the ball. If we had 3 Sakas up front, a lot of our problems would go away. A 10, it to me is way lower on the priority list, but it's a huge priority for a lot of people because all of a sudden they feel like if we just get a number 10, everything will be solved. It won't. You need a striker, you need a winger. Then maybe after that, maybe a 10, but I'm also looking at positions where it's a starter. I'm not sure that if we buy a number 10 that they will start anyway, because the idea for Arsenal, whether you like it or not, is for Odegaard, Rice, and Zubamendi to start. that's going to be our midfield next season, whether you like it or not. So yeah, I'm going to look at the starters, a starting striker, a starting winger, and then left back. I think we're probably looking at a starter, which is odd because I just feel like Miles Lewis-Skelly has done well enough where I'm not sure we need a starter. But if you're looking at Hato and Hoyson and these kind of guys, you're looking for a starter at the back. Maybe not so much for Hoyson, but Hato for sure. I don't see him sitting on our bench. So I don't know. But I think number 10 would be 3 or 4 down the list, because somebody that's probably not going to start is not going to be the main priority for me. There is a real possibility that we don't get a number 10. There's nothing out there that says we're going to get a number 10. So yeah, I don't know what to tell y'all. Boy says, you got to see the vision on this one. Must be Hato at left back. Al Capri says, which players do you think we should sign? I'm okay with Gyökeres and left wing. I like Nico Williams, but if it's not Nico Williams, just get somebody good. It's not, I'm not saying it'll be easy to upgrade on Martinelli, but I think that there's enough talent out there. We just don't go after the talented younger players that have it's all going after already made things, and it's like the players that are already made are not that good in my opinion. So I'd rather go with a more raw up and coming left winger than like some other Trossardy type of signing, if that makes sense. Go get a left back. I don't give a fuck. Get the goalkeeper. Get Juan Garcia. I don't give a fuck. All I care about is the left wing and the striker. That's really, if we get that, I'll probably be like generally happy. If it's Gyökeres, if it's Osimhen, if it's, one of those two, I'll be okay. So yeah, I genuinely don't think people understand what a dire situation we are when it comes to our forwards. They don't do anything. Hugo says, Gyökeres, Reinders, words, please. That's not happening. Big says, Partey felt something to Arteta. Actually, to Arteta. According to Arteta, season is cooked. If he's injured, there was no need for him to play for so long. I mean, that would just be like the worst season ever. Victor says Turkey for 25 is a must, in my opinion, if we don't move like that. I mean, Turkey is probably like the most obvious that you could bring in and can play in multiple positions across like the front three and the midfield positions and add some, attacking, because you need to get somebody in. Like, that's what I was like, it's on the list, but it's lower. Because you can kind of get away with the way that we play without the number 10. You can't get away with not getting the striker or the left wing. It's not going to work. But because we don't have a Fabio Vieira or Emil, there's no way to get more attacking. So I can understand the aspect of wanting to get a number 10 in. But if you think we're going to go out there and spend 100 million on Wirtz, what world are you living in? We're not. It's just not going to happen. We need so many other things. Johnny says, if we buy another defender, Turkish is going to lose his shit, and I'm going to agree with him. But you guys know we're going to get a defender. I don't particularly want a defender. Like, I would love for us to just take whatever money we would get use for Hoyson or Hato and do something else with it. But we're not going to. A certain amount of money is going to go to a backup goalkeeper and a defender. I think sometimes, like, when we talk about things, I like for us to have a little bit of like but we already know this is going to happen. So like, we don't have to go, okay, well, I'd rather, I want us to be a little bit realistic, so we know we're going to get the backup goalkeeper. It's probably going to be Juan Garcia. We're probably going to get, we're going to get left back. Actually, we're going to get a defender. So you already know that. So the only other things to really look at is after you get those two things and the three other things, which is Zubamendi, a striker, and a left winger. If we get anything, it'll be a number 10. And it's probably going to have to be more of like a deal. It will never be words. It's not going to be £100 million signing. It's just not. You already have so much going out for the other positions that have already kind of been set in stone. So, I mean, I like the idea of El Canus. I like the idea of like a Turkey, those types, because I know they're not going to cost that much. So it's more realistic, but there's just no world where you're going to go out there and get Rafael Leao and Isak and Wirtz. Like, it's not even worth talking about. It's not even worth talking about because it's not going to happen. Kevin says Partey looked like he tweaked his groin, then shortly after sat down in the pitch before he got subbed. We're just not. It's just a season from hell. Lionite says when Yeri looked like Jermaine Pennant today, difficult watch. Yeah, he's just a young player. I'm not gonna shade him. We shouldn't be okay with it though. Even if it does happen, we shouldn't be okay with it. If we buy it. Oh, shouldn't be okay with another. But here's the thing, like, if we buy another defender and we still get the things that we're meant to get, then there's nothing wrong with it. I think the thing is people are like, well, if we don't get a defender, if we get a defender, then we're not going to get any of the other things that we're going to get or we're supposed to get. We are going to still get some of those things. The number 10 is probably the one thing that we're not going to get. And because they probably do believe in Wanyeri, and as much as people don't like it, Odegaard's not going to get dropped or lose his captaincy. So the best you can hope for is that he gets back into form. I know that's going to make like a lot of people mad, but it's just the reality. Like, I don't know what to do, you know. But there is a world where you buy a striker and you buy a left winger, and our whole worlds are so much better. I don't know why people are underestimating that and thinking like, okay, well, if we just get a whole nother midfield, like, we don't have people that can put the ball in the back of the net. It's just that fucking simple, guys. It's just that simple. You need guys that can put the ball in the back of the net desperately. And we don't have that. I can't wait till we get the striker and the left winger. I can't, man. I think Odegaard is a better playmaker with a real striker in front of him. I think because I'm a big Odegaard fan, I'm willing to give him more time because, again, this is his first bad season since he's been here. So I wouldn't want to, because I even did the same thing with Martinelli. He had a really poor season right after the 2022-2023 season. And I felt like, okay, he'll come into this season and be better. He wasn't. And so it was what it was. But I want to give Odegaard at least the opportunity to recover from whatever he's going through. And then with a striker and better attackers, see what it's like, because that could solve a lot of our problems. But some people are not a fan of Odegaard, so they want him thrown in the bin quickly as possible. I understand that. That's just not where I'm at, you know. So this is not an Odegaard hate channel, unfortunately for some of you guys. And yeah, I think we want our midfielders to do so much more than what they're meant to be doing, because our attackers don't do anything, and we don't require them to score 20 goals a season. We don't require them to get assists for each other. We don't require them to get shots off. We don't require them to do anything. We want the midfield to do all of that for us. And for a long time, they did. For a long time, Rice and Odegaard and players like that have pretty much like carried what the attackers are, supplemented a lot of what the attackers are meant to be doing. When they don't do it, then you really see the gaps up front. And I'd rather just have the attackers do that instead of just like, well, I need my number 10 to get 20 goals and 20 assists. It's just like, it's so unrealistic, but fair enough. You know, I get it. People want Wirtz. You're not going to get Wirtz. So I don't care. You know, Blaze says there's no excuse for Arsenal to not buy a striker in the transfer summer window. Osman, Sesko, Gyökeres, and maybe Isak, not sure about that, will be available. We're going to get a striker. We're going to get a striker. We're not going to miss it this time. We're going to get a striker, whether it's the one that you want. You know, I don't know which one you guys want, but we're going to get a striker this summer. Mata says, Jess, you taking Gyökeres or Sesko? At this stage, I feel like I'm leaning more towards Gyökeres. But I like both. I would sell Odegaard tomorrow, Jess, but he is a better player with a real striker ahead of him. Let's not be foolish on that detail. And we haven't had a striker for 2 or 3 years now. Gunnar says, I would take Shirky, but the price tag should lower with his bad attitude. I think it's as low as it could be for a player of his standard. You know, I think 25 million for a player of his standard is incredibly low when you know the fees that Leon have sold players for in the past. So if you can't get up with the 25 million, then you shouldn't even be in the conversation, you know? So yeah, Nico says banking on Odegaard to get into form. Seen that movie before with a certain number 11. They're not the same players though, but I never rated Martinelli as highly as you guys did. I always thought Martinelli was like a couple levels below Saka, Odegaard, players like that. even when Martinelli was playing well, he wasn't really highly rated, so yeah, I don't know, but even with Martinelli playing so poorly for 2 seasons, there's still a large contingent of this fan base that believe it's everybody's fault but his own. If you watched him today, he was horrendous, so, um, but I guess if I was a Martinelli stan, I would feel differently. I'm just not. I just never thought he was as good as people made him out to seem. It was a lot of tap-ins in that 15 non-penalty goal situation. He just doesn't have enough in his game, out wide. Saida says Arsenal fans have compared the way we play to City so much that they want Odegaard to be KDB, but they're not really even similar. The sooner they realize that, the better. I used to say that a lot before. It's that like our fan base has a nasty obsession with City, so much so that they do want our players to mimic those players, and they don't have any sort of concept of us playing differently when we don't really play like City. Nothing that we do is really like City outside of inverting the left back. And trying to, control the possession in certain ways. But Arteta hasn't really built our team that similar, like, in my opinion. I think it's really different. But I actually think we have a lot of similarities to Liverpool in the way that I think Arteta really wanted two wingers to be like the main goal scorers, like, and then the number 9 to be more of like a creator or more of like just like a facilitator. And then our midfield is more of like a hardworking midfield, which is why he prefers to have more of like 2 6s than like 2 10s, or 2 8s and a 6 or whatever. He's more like everybody's more of like a hard worker type. Especially like post Xhaka. So I don't really look at City and think, okay, well, City got a blank, so we need to get at this. We just need to be the best version of ourselves, and nobody will ever be Kevin De Bruyne. But I get wanting to emulate that with a different player. So people are looking at words and stuff like that. So I get it. It's just not where I'm at, to be honest. Ken says, hello, Jess. We need Nico Williams, and sadly, it could be bye to Martinelli. I don't think Martinelli will go. It may be Trossard. One of them must go, though. So whichever one it is, just choose, But I think watching, it was just so frustrating the other day. Just, the Martinelli conversations were so deeply unserious the other day. I love Deluded, don't get me wrong. But the celebrating him being kind of average-ish against Real Madrid, if I'm honest, he was okay. Like, he wasn't amazing or anything. And then whatever he did against, wasn't a game before that where he played good? I don't know. But I'm just like, I think I just switched off of Martinelli. So it would take so much more for me to think that he's the guy for us, but I don't know. I don't get it. We got to get Rice to try that evil half space cross to the boy KDB always does. Rice can smack the ball really well. I like that, I thought that Rice is trying things creatively that I don't think people really would expect him to, but I respect the fact that he's trying things, and whether they come off or not for me is less important than, trying to stay within your wheelhouse. I think the reason why he looks so good in the 8 at times is because he doesn't just do what is native to him. He does things that he sees other creative players doing, or he tries things, and, whether they come up or not, he's willing to try something again. And so Rice was really good today again. And he did some really like interesting things. Some things came off and some things didn't, but you're right. Like, I think his vision is not like a KDB type of vision, but the way that he hits the ball, he could be really dangerous in the final third. He just has to figure out when to use it and when not to. Let's see. Victor says, not just the argument was that he was better than Odegaard, not that he was amazing. I'm telling DG, you're twisting his words. No, he was saying that he was really, really good. He was saying that he was really, really good. The conversation started that way, but he thought that he played just like with the other good players. There was somebody else in the comments though that was saying that he was just okay, so and the celebration has gone on for a while because I think he had like one good game, um, where he did the flick to Saka. Was it when Saka came back for the first time? Was that Fulham? And ever since then, there's been some deeply unserious conversations going on. But you know, that was a really good game, and that's why I gave him credit then. But I'm like, it's not going to go any further than that. Our fan base is the worst, also to understand football. Blake says, I don't know if it's true, but there is news that Nico Williams will stay and sign a new contract. I don't know, man. Victor says Nelly does get overhyped, to be honest. I just think about like what his skill set is and whether or not the way that we play can carry a player with that limited of a skill set. I don't think that Martinelli's skill set is wide enough. I think that's more what it is than anything. It's when he does his one thing really good, it's great. But when he's not doing that one thing great, you see how limited he is. And it's not like he's ever going to be able to like get the ball, twist up 3 or 4 players and like put it in the top corner, or he's not going to be able to get the ball and then find somebody running, underlapping and hit the pass like so perfectly to them that it doesn't go out the end line. He just doesn't have a lot to his game. And so because we haven't seen the best part of his game, consistently, it's just so obvious that like we need a little bit more in the wing because our game requires our wingers to be world class. The way that we play requires world class wingers. It cannot like specifically because of the way that our midfield operates. Our midfield operates in a way where we do a lot of high pressures. We win the ball back quickly. We're in the opposition's half all the time. So when we get the ball, a lot of times the wingers have the ball and they have to do things in tight areas and they need to be able to do more than just go out the end line. And he just doesn't have it. He's not a great crosser of the ball either. Like it's just a lot, so that's just where I'm at with Martinelli. I like him, and I think he's a sweet guy. I do. I don't know. Laundry Basket says, did you know that DG takes jokes, jabs at you because your ball knowledge shatters? No. It's not this. My ball knowledge is not any better than Diluted's at all. Diluted is just, we take pokes and jabs at each other because it's fucking hilarious and it's entertainment for you guys. But he doesn't poke and jab me because of anything other than the fact that we're just having so much fun. That's all it is. Al Backy says the team was average today. They quickly got tired because Arteta played most of them out of position. Blaze says, does people really celebrate just because Martinelli was good against Real Madrid? I think to me, Martinelli was okay against Real Madrid, but he was really good against Fulham. I think we've been living in the Fulham bubble for a long time. He's just doing the same things he's been doing. But we'll see, what happens. Maybe he will be the difference in the Madrid game away from home. We're going to need transition threat, and he's pretty much the only one that we have, although I do think that he's slowed down significantly. I don't know if you guys feel that way too. Jordan says, is Martinelli 24 yet? I don't know. Is he? He's not a spring chicken. This is the same Arsenal we've seen for most of the season. Not quite good enough to keep opposition out. Not quite good enough to break down the deadlock. Needed to buy some firepower in the summer. Jordan says, if so, he still has time to improve himself. Dipster says we overrate our players, and when they leave, we see that they are average. Martinelli's not going to go anywhere, though. I mean, they'll probably give him more time. Would he be a better backup to like a really good left winger than Trossard? Potentially, because he would be the type of player that maybe you want to bring in on tired legs, and there's a theoretical like situation where he could still improve, so where Trossard is not going to get any better than what he is now. So it probably is better to let Trossard go and let Martinelli be the backup. But he needs to score like he needs to score a lot more goals. I think because that's what he's mostly good at. Like he needs to score way more goals than he has been scoring. And so I don't know if those are going to come off the bench. I really don't know what's going on with Martinelli. I haven't been able to put my finger on it because we've given the system, it's been the system, it's been the injuries. It could be a combination of those two. I don't know, but I just think we were different back then, and like now we need something different. But he's not bad. And he's just not my cup of tea. AMD says he's had decent shots, need to trust himself more. Lionide says playing Wanyeri today was pretty under 21. Zinchenko gone next season. Boy says, but he definitely knew Wanyeri was playing, tells me everything. Blaze says, yes, Martinelli will be 24 in the summer. Listen, the one thing I will say about this is that Zinchenko scored a goal against whatever PSV or whoever the fuck we played in the dead rubber. And I actually heard people saying that he should start over Odegaard because he scored a goal in a dead rubber. Meanwhile, Odegaard got 2 goals and assists in the game that allowed it to be a dead rubber. I don't care how much you hate Odegaard, but be fucking for real. There's one player in this team that nobody can use to beat anybody else over, and that is Zinchenko. Y'all hate that man. You guys hate Zinchenko. There's no way that I actually saw. I saw it on AFTV. I saw it in this chat. Zinchenko is so much better in the 10 than Odegaard in a dead rubber against PSV. He was dead today. He was dead today. Like, come on. I don't care how much you hate Odegaard. There's nobody in this team right now that is an upgrade on Odegaard, whether he's playing well or not. If you want to upgrade on Odegaard, you're going to have to go to the top 1% of attacking midfielders in the world. I'm so sorry. And those types of players, I don't see us getting, so also an attacking midfielder that can exist in a system that requires them to defend, requires them to press, because Arteta's not going to change his ways. He wants that midfield to press. He wants that midfield to be good off the ball. He wants to have people that track back. He wants his right center mid to drop in and get the ball off of the goalkeeper. If there's somebody else who can do that consistently and get you 15 goals and 15 assists in a season, let me know who the fuck that is. Because Arteta ain't changing that system for no fucking body. He's hard-headed, man. He's hard-headed, man. I'd love him to change the system for Odegaard and Saka to allow them to be more free, but he doesn't. So you really think he's going to do that for somebody else? Different players, Odegaard and Zinchenko. Blaze says, who said this? Just Zinchenko can replace Odegaard. Our fan base sometimes is. I saw it on AFTV, and I saw it in the chat that people were saying that he played better than Odegaard did in the 10 at all this season because he scored that 1 goal against a dead PSV side when we were 7-1 up. This is what I'm saying. That's why I don't be listening. That's why I don't listening. I'm not listening to that. Lionide says, I don't want Real Madrid respect. I want to beat them. I don't think that they respect us, to be honest. When somebody said earlier they respect us now, I think they're so upset that it was us that beat them because they don't respect us at all. Like, I really do think that they just don't rate us. Yeah, El Capri says, why can't we go get Rodrigo from Madrid? Gyökeres, Rodrigo, Tajani, and Hato. I mean, I think it's obvious why we can't do those things. Why can't we go get Rodrigo? Rodrigo's playing for Real Madrid, and as much as there's this whole idea that he's not a guaranteed starter, so he's just going to want to come to Arsenal, I don't think really holds that much weight. I do think that we're still a step below the elite sides, and so I'm not sure that we can just go get Rodrigo, especially because Rodrigo, to me, is a 90 million pound player on the market. I don't think that you're going to be able to get him for 60 or whatever the fuck y'all are thinking. So you want 90 million pound Rodrigo, 60 million pound Gyökeres, and then you want to go and turn around and get to Johnny Reinders, who just signed a new deal for AC Milan. It's probably going to cost at least 60 or 70 million. I can tell you right now that that's the reason why you're not going to get them. So I love Tajani as well. Like, I think that's the type of left-sided center mid that I would love to play with Rice in 6. I'd prefer that setup, but we're not gonna go in that setup because we already know we're gonna get Zubimendi. So, I think there's a lot of reasons why that's not gonna happen. You can't just go get Rodrigo. There's certain players you can't just go get. I think the Real Madrid players are the ones that you just can't go get. You can't just go get them. Blaze says, yeah, some Arsenal fans are hating Odegaard because he won player of the season instead of Saka last season. Blaze, let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. I was there, and I was flabbergasted at how many Arsenal fans were so upset over a player of the season fucking like just situation. Because one thing I don't care about is player of the season. Like, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme. Like, it really, really doesn't. And the amount of think pieces and hate messages for Odegaard that came off of the back of that, I was like, the minute that he has a bad game or a bad run of form, they're going to kill him. And so I'm not surprised that people look, because I think the argument was that if we don't rate Saka enough to make him player of the season, then rivals won't. But if you don't get right now, like, and you can't like absorb this in your brain that there's never going to be a time where rivals don't hate on Saka, then you will never find peace. Find peace. Like, even if Saka was our player of the season until the end of time, rivals don't give a fuck about who our player of the season is. They don't give a fuck. They don't care about that shit. But enough people felt like Odegaard was good enough at the back end of last season because I think it was fresh in our mind when we actually started playing well. The beginning of the season was like a wash. So anything that happened at the beginning of last season, I think got washed away because the second half of the season was so good and Odegaard was kind of our best player in that time. So if it wasn't him, it was maybe Saka, maybe Rice. There's a lot of players playing good at that time. So I didn't really get it. I was just like, why are you guys mad that one of our players got player of the season? I don't get it. Any of the 4 players, Saliba, Saka, Rice, or Odegaard could have won it and I would have been happy. But like the way that people were like spitting up blood, I was like, our fan base is like needs to seek help. They need help. They need to go outside and touch grass. It is player of the season. It is not the presidential election. It is not going to change your life. It's not even as big as American Idol. It doesn't matter. In the grand scheme, it does not matter. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? So it was like, I was like, they are spitting up blood. Who cares? And like Saka for me is, because we're having conversation at the back end of last season, who's our best player, most important player. I actually don't think any of that stuff really matters. I think we all know that Saka is Mr. Arsenal. In this era of Arsenal, he is Mr. Arsenal. That doesn't like best, important, none of that matters. Saka is Mr. Arsenal. If he's on the field, we're good. And a good Odegaard does make us different. And I think everybody understands that as well. But I just feel like our fan base gets really bogged down in things that don't really matter in the grand scheme. It really doesn't. What we need is our best players to be playing as good as possible. You think they give a shit about player of the season? Do you think Saka was sitting there saying, oh, Talami, like, I'm so pissed off, I didn't win player of the season. You really think he gives a fuck? He didn't care. Come on. Boy says Odegaard didn't even start today. Why are we talking about him today? He's been the main topic of conversation in almost every single, like, everything for the last couple of months, so whether he starts or not, so yeah, that's why he gets talked about. It's true some Arsenal fans seeking validation from rival fans to praise Saka, which is weird for me. They're never going to care. They're never going to rate Saka unless he leaves. Like, come on. You guys know this. You've been here before. Yeah, that player of the season stuff doesn't matter. Saka is a poster boy for his era. But at the same time, the truth, so just to wrap this whole thing up is I just feel like we need to just make sure we get past Real Madrid. That's like all that matters right now, because none of these conversations about why it's okay for us to play like shit in the league matters if we don't go through. Some people feel like getting Champions League is a formality at this point. Some people feel like getting through to the semifinals of the Champions League is a formality. I don't think anything is a formality because I watched this team lose a huge lead and do something that nobody else has ever done in a Premier League and lose the Premier League at a certain level, like when we were so far ahead, that nobody else has ever done that. So for me, until this team gets something over the line, I'm always going to have it in the back of my mind that they have the ability to really crumble in the moments that matter. So no, I'm not quite at the Champions League as a formality. I'm not quite at the point where I think the semifinals is a qualifying for the semifinals is a formality. I need to get past that Real Madrid game, and we need to get through. We'll never hear the end of it otherwise, you know. So today, all will be kind of forgotten if we go through. Otherwise, I'll look back on today and be like, well, what's the excuse for playing so bad if you can't get past Real Madrid after being 3-0 up? And I know it's going to be a tough game. It's not going to be easy. They're going to have the black magic going. It's probably going to be dark in there. You're going to see all types of witches brew and soil and toil and all type of shit going on in there. The referee is going to have red eyes and is going to be like a little robot and it's going to be just giving them everything all the time. We already know it's going to be bullshit. We already know, but we still need to get through. So without Thomas Partey, unfortunately, you know, that would really hurt us. I think the domino effect of that and how we deal with that would also Jorginho going down, because it's never just Thomas Partey and then Jorginho is fit. It's going to have to be both of the DMs at once, would mean that something would have to happen with Declan Rice, and then that would trigger something else, because we don't actually have you don't want to move Marino, so who the fuck are you going to play at left center mid? So I'm hoping that Partey is fit. I'm hoping that we go through. Then all of this will not really mean anything, but we just need to get something over the line. I don't believe kind of until we do it. And I know that that's probably like the trauma that I need to let go, but this team has traumatized me so badly that like I need them to just get it over the line, guys. I really do. I'm weak. Victor says sacrifices will be made by Madrid. All type of stuff, you know, blood oaths, you know, all type of things. I'm telling you, soil and toil, witches brew, sorcery, black magic, you know, voodoo dolls, all type of shit is going down. Brantel says Martinelli is not convincing me his instincts are off. Boy says he was right there, didn't make an offer. Oh, you guys talking about Kvaratskhelia? Y'all, it's over. You know, he plays for somebody else. I get it that he was right there and we should have went for him, but I do think, like, if you guys know anything about Kvaratskhelia, and I don't claim to, it's like I've never met him before, but I think he made it very, very, very clear early days, when the first time that he was meant to leave Napoli, that he wanted to either go to Real Madrid or PSG. So I'm not sure that there was ever really a chance. Like, once a player has their mindset on going to a certain club, I'm not quite sure that us getting in the mix is going to change anything. I think he was pretty much set to go to one of those places. If it would have made you feel better for us to put in a bid and get rejected, fair enough. But sometimes players just want to go to certain places. I think that's why it pretty much was a one-horse race, because they knew that he wanted to go there. You know, I see your super sticker sandwich. Sorry, I'm getting to it. Thank you so much for your super sticker. I wasn't going to go without saying something about it. I apologize. Sorry, sandwich. Victor says 60 million for Kvaratskhelia has my head gone. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm trying to move forward from players that we could have gotten. I mean, you want me to still Luis Suarez? We should have put in more than 40 million in a buck. You know, I get it, but we got to move on. You know, we got to move on. The one that got away. Blaze says it's weird that no Premier League teams wanted to buy Kvaratskhelia in January. I don't think it's so much that they didn't want to. I think he wanted to go PSG and it was already kind of set in stone, guys. I really don't think that there was like, I do think to a certain extent, if you want to go somewhere, it kind of makes it hard for other teams to get in the mix. So yeah, I don't know. Boy says Liverpool wanted KK. They made an offer, test the waters. I mean, if they got rejected, what do you think was going to happen with us? I think it would maybe make you feel better, but I still even think, like, even if we did put in a bid and we got rejected, I still think you guys would be mad. I still think you have to be mad. Why didn't you make more of an effort? Why didn't Arteta really convince him? Why didn't Edu get to come on? Like, he wasn't coming, you know? But he is fabulous, you know, don't get me wrong. Josh says, so who aside from Kvaratskhelia is an Alexis regen? Why do we always need regens? Bring back individuality, bring back uniqueness. We're always looking for an Henri regen or an Alexis regen. What about just like a really good player that can do the things that the players that we have already aren't able to do? The reason why people want Ekatike, who I mean is a good player, but let's be honest, like he's not the guy, is because he is an Isak regen and Isak is an Henri regen. Everyday regen. Let's do something else. There is no Alexis regen. There is none. I mean, Kvaratskhelia reminds me way more of Robert Pires than Alexis anyway, so I don't know. Nico says, I think the problem is that there's a real shortage of high caliber wingers of his standard. That's why fans are pissed off that we didn't at least try. I totally get that. I understand that. I just feel like I don't know if I'd lose sleep over it just because it's not that I don't rate him or anything like that, but I think he made him and his dad and his agent or whoever made it really, really clear early days that it was Real Madrid or PSG, and that was it pretty much that he was looking to go to. So, I'm not quite sure that we would have even with trying to get into the mix that he would have chosen us. Or so if it would have like if you're a type of person that you want to see us try and get rejected and that would make you feel better, then fair enough. But I kind of prefer us to put effort into players that we know we have an opportunity to actually go get, because I know people would like getting rejected in real time also is like it sucks, So I don't know. I think I'm kind of okay with the ways that things went. But I think PSG also shows that like just because the obvious names aren't you don't always have to go off the most obvious names. I think we only think that the talent is there if we can readily see it, or if it's in the Prem, because a lot of Prem people, like a lot of people that watch the Prem, don't watch anything else. You know what I mean? So, which isn't shade, but it's just the truth. But freaking, I remember we were looking at Barcola. Didn't nobody want him? When he was first like on the scene, and we were looking at wingers, like, not looking, but like as fans, we were like bringing up names. Did nobody want Barcola? He's too young, he's too raw, he's too this and that. He went to PSG, he's banged. Desire Doué, people weren't sold on him. Young player, just chilling at Rennes or wherever the fuck he was at, and has done well. So there's talent out there. And neither one of those two players were ready made. They were both quite raw. They were really talented, but they just needed somewhere to go for that talent to be like, refined. And so there is talent out there. Arsenal just need to figure out where it's at, and they just need to figure it out. I'm way more interested in, I don't want to see some old ran through winger that we've seen before for a million years like a Sane. I'd rather go and get somebody young and raw that can be honed into something world class like a Doué, like a Barcola. Again, this is a team that's probably favorites to win the Champions League, if not Barcelona. And they got players that people would have choked at, like if we had went and got them because they weren't household names already. So it's all about knowing where the talent is. And of course, PSG have a world-class sporting director in Luis Campos, another person that a lot of Arsenal fans scoffed at. Sometimes it's just about having the right butts in the right seats to find the right type of talent. I'm not that worried because I think that we have a good sporting director now. But if we had Edu, yeah, we'd be up Ship Creek. That's for sure. Because he could never get Nico Williams done. But then also his next option would be Willian. Mata says, even when we're discussing Isak Sociedad days, people were unsure. Sorry to bring Isak up. Lionite says, Krava hurts me. Victor says, Krava with Georgia and the Euros changed my life. Jess, you got to understand. I understand. I get it. I get it. There are certain players that when we don't get them, it hurts you more than others. Krava wasn't one for me. You know what I mean? So I get that. I think I had nightmares about not getting Luis Suarez for a very long time. Because I'm like, we're always just one fucking player away, and here we are, So yeah, I get it. But I just think I don't know if I can shit on the club for not trying to get a player that was pretty vocal about the club that he wanted to go to. You know? So yeah. I think cuz even with like Rafinha, I didn't as upset as I was about us not getting him, because at the time I thought he was the right player. Coming from Leeds, I was like, he made it pretty obvious that he wanted to go Barca. So I really can't be upset that my club can't compete. He already had his mind set up, you know. Foxy says, just get the next Kvaratskhelia, always new talents every year. I agree with this. I think we're too hung up on names that are already like kind of like out there, because it's like, well, who are the other talents? But they're out there, you just have to figure out. Again, it's like, it wasn't too long ago where didn't nobody know Desire Doué and, Bradley Barcola. And if we had been linked to those players and looked at their comps and saw that they were in the French league and they weren't doing, they didn't have a PSG shirt on and they weren't playing in Champions League, it would have been a problem, So I don't have a problem going for younger players. That's why I'm okay with the Nico Williams thing. It's just his wages are probably going to be insurmountable. Blaze says, you right, PSG wanted to buy Krava in the summer, but Napoli didn't want to sell him. Let's see. Johnny D says, well, watching France and praising it like Lee doesn't exactly sound kosher to me when PSG is alone and everyone else fights for second. I actually really do think that League One has the untapped talent. But it's just what kind of talent. I think you do really well with defenders there and like defensive midfielder types. The forwards you got to be careful with, but they do well. I don't want to watch League One. I'm not trying to sit there and really watch fucking Ren and whoever the fuck else. Ream. Yeah, I'm not trying to watch Ren and Ream or whoever, Brest. I'm not trying to watch those teams play. Lons, whatever. But there's talent there, and I expect my sporting director to know it's there. I'm just not going to sit there and watch it. So I'm so sorry. I'm not going to do it. Hi Jess. I hope today's performance is just a precaution and not to take risks against Real. In the Premier League, we can't win anymore. Let's hope for the best on Wednesday. Let's see. Social Join says PSG was the only one in for Krava. No one wanted to deal with Napoli, who always wants money up front. Monaco, Lons. Yeah, if y'all sit around and watch them, y'all can do that, and you can report back to me what the talent is. The only team that every once in a while, if I can catch them, I peek in on is Monaco. That is it. I'm probably not going to watch the other teams. I'm going to be so real. I'm not going to watch them. Boy says, we could have done things to tempt KK. I will not be letting the club off lightly. Fair enough. Social Join says, Chelsea and PSG buying up all the young French talent. Yeah, we could be doing more of that. Put the money on Ekitike? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, you guys. I'm so sorry. Getting the regen of the regen that we want it's not it. I'm going to say I don't think Ekitike is the guy for us. I think buying somebody that suits a 2-striker system when we play a 1-striker system, and he just feels like a supplemental striker to somebody who's more prolific. And the last thing we need is somebody who is not the main goal scorer, because we have a lot of players that are not the main goal scorer. I think we need a true 9, not somebody that is just a target man, but somebody who thrives as being the main striker for their team. I do not want to Ekitike. I'm going to be so real. I know he scored against Tottenham. I know he scored quite a few goals this season. I just feel like that guy is more suited to a 1-striker system or 2-striker system. He did really well with Marmoush. We don't play like that, so no. Ekitike or Acuna as your main striker is, to me, it's just gouge my eyes out. Go get a real number 9. Go to get Osimhen. Go get Gyökeres. Go get one of those people that thrive as the main number 9, the main guy in their team, that's going to put on the number. Also, I was talking about this. I know we're not talking about anything right now, but who really cares? But because I was going to bring this up. The amount of sick numbers we're going to have available this summer is like, we got to fill those, don't we? Now, somebody probably should pry the number 9 from Gabriel Jesus's cold, dead fingers, right? But we know the club is too nice to take his shit away, because idealistically, the minute that he gets fit, he should be on the January transfer market. He should be available for purchase, immediately. And we should have given his number away. But we won't do that. So the number 14 is available. and the number 10 will be available. The number 20 will be available. Potentially the number 5 will be available as well. The number 3 will be available. We have sick numbers available this summer. We need to fill those. We need to fill those, man. We have to with the right players. Now, do I think that we should retire the number 14 and have it up in the rafters like they do in the NBA? Yes, I do. But if we end up with if we get the striker, which I think we will, and they have the option to take the 14, it's got to be somebody that can hold that shit up for real. It really can't be. I know Ekatike did the Henri slide, and I know he did that, but he's not Henri, guys. He's really not. So yeah, we're gonna have some sick numbers available. And yes, I am a traditional old man shouting at clouds. I kind of need those. I need, if it's a number 5 available, I kind of need it to be a midfielder, or at the most a center back. My number 3 is a fullback, so Hato maybe can take number 3 if we buy him. That works for me. Number 20 is an interesting one. I think that's a midfield type of number. So somebody can take that as well. Maybe if we get somebody else, I don't know. But I'm excited. And the number 10 is going to be available. And so who are we going to give that to? Because surely somebody takes that. Surely somebody takes number 10. Surely, so I don't know if I'd give it to Ethan. But the 2 wingers that we've been linked with, Leao and Nico Williams, both wear number 10. So yay! I like the idea of big numbers being available. No more of this woke shit. That if you get offended by the word woke, I'm sorry. I apologize, but no more of that with what freaking Rice and Kai Havertz were on with those weird ass numbers. Get real men numbers, okay? 5, 4, 10, 11, 9, 7, 3, 4, 2, that. I love that. Social Join says wingers with number 10, atrocious. Brantail says hold the number 10 for the right player. Johan says I want MLS to keep 49 as a remembrance for 49 unbeaten. Social Join says don't issue out 14, 10 until those actual layers at the club. Players at the club. Jordan says, I mean, if Abba stayed and regained his form, he would have broken Henri's scoring record. That is a big, big, big shout. Blaze says, it's so funny, but during the Wenger era, when we were always bought young players, talent players, media criticized Arsenal because of this. I think because the mix was off. A lot of times, like once we got to the place where we needed to buy the young talent, as we were in the Emirates era and we needed to pay off the stadium, we didn't have enough of the Henris and those type of guys to fill in with the young talent. And the balance is always off with Arsenal. We either have too many old players and then not enough young talent, or we have too much young talent and not enough older players. We've gotten to the place where our young players that were too young to win the title, or a couple of years ago, are now in their prime or pre-prime or whatever. They're in the 25 to 27 years old. So they're more than capable of being able to hold up younger players now. So we should be looking for the young, super talented players if we can't go get ready-made. We have enough players now that are like they're ready, But I do remember when they criticized us, but I think it's always just because we didn't have the balance right. So yeah, Lina says, Jess, he got the Henri move. I get it, but like I'm not sold on Ekatike, but I don't think the club is either. I think it's going to be Gyökeres. Foxy says, I was watching the Mexican League the other week. You watch the most random stuff, Foxy. Some players for Club America had the number 193, 210, 214. The game's gone. Oh, my days. Are you serious? Oh, my goodness. That's freaking crazy. Social Join says 41 is Rice Academy number. I respect that. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just making fun. Toan says true. Boy says they gave Gallus the 10. Our club has shat on squad numbers, That was egregious. Very, very egregious. What was worse? Gallas getting the 10 or Nketiah getting the 14? I'm leaning towards Gallas, but giving Nketiah the 14 was crazy. That's fucking crazy. Eddie the 14, Social Join says, João Pedro Ekitike, just false nine, get real strikers. I think that's why I'm leaning away from the false nine. We have so many players that already do that, and I don't think we need any more. We have quite a few players that can do the false nine thing. So let's get a true bagsman and see what that looks like instead of keep buying kind of the same-ish type of players. And I do agree that the player can't just be a target man. It needs to be somebody. I think whoever was on comms on Peacock made a really, really good point that now I'm going to pretend like I thought of, was that because I couldn't really explain it because I'm not a tactico, but he was basically saying like, that because Arsenal play with inverted fullbacks and they don't have, the types of fullbacks that get into those wide positions and cross it in, they need a striker that can drop in a little bit more because our inverted fullbacks doesn't really suit a target man. And so I think it's finding the balance between somebody that can drop in and can do a little bit of playmaking, but ultimately does thrive in the box. And their best quality has to be goal scoring. I think that's the end all be all for me is that if you start talking about a striker and you're talking about link up play and hard work and defensive work and tiki taka or Joga Benito or whatever twinkle toes bullshit, then I'm clocked out. Their best quality needs to be their goal scoring, and that's it. Dipster says offering 14 to him was crazy thing. He not going to sign for £100,000 a week? Anchor says Jokeris would be great. Jordan Hill says Eddie getting 14, getting his 3 goals and then disappears for the rest of the season. Lina says get Ekitike. Social Join says CB with a 10 is crazy. Ryan says gotta be Gallas in the 10. I mean, it's just that is egregious. Like it's just I cannot get over giving a Chelsea player our number 10, sticking him at the back. And I cannot get the vision of him whining on the sideline and crying on the sideline while our title hopes are going down the fucking drain. I will never get over that. And the fact that we've continuously gone to Chelsea after that and given them our hard-earned money makes me sick to my fucking stomach. Number 10, Gallas, has to be it's worse to me than Eddie. It's worse because there's layers to the deceit. There's layers to the tomfoolery. There's layers to the unseriousness. I cannot get behind it. Blaze says, I can't believe we did exchange Cole for Gallas. Till today, I don't understand this decision. Line 9 says, give Ethan number 10. He can pass the ball. He can pass the ball sideways. He had one bad game, man. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You're on him, and he's just a kid. He's just a kid. You gotta let it go, man. He'll be fine. Wilshere was number 10, but always injured. Wilshere is my most like, if I could have given him like a injury-free career, and that will be very, very, very unpopular because almost everybody's is what's his name? You guys know who I'm talking about, Diaby. But for me, it was Wilshere because I don't know. I cannot get over the fact that that player did not have a full career. I just don't like the performance against Barcelona. I am still stuck there. I'm still there to this day. And I just felt like he was going to be like for England and Arsenal. The amount of injuries was atrocious. We broke that kid. And I'll kind of like never get over that. But Diaby and Jack Wilshere are really good examples of like players that like had everything but the fitness. And as good as we thought that they would be, because they were injury prone, it was what it was. But those are probably the best players that we ever had that were injury prone outside of Robin Van Persie. We've had a lot of really injury prone players in our time. Whew. Boy says, I would rather Odegaard get the 10 than Wanyeri. Wanyeri can hold 18 or something until he proves he's ready for it. Past 3 years have been great, but exhausting. Tired of trying to figure out our transfer strategy. Kimberly says, I don't know that number 10 has some juju. My issue with Ekitike is the price for him now. The time to get him would have been when he couldn't get a game at PSG with Neymar, Mbappe, Messi ahead of him. Frankfurt paid 15 million, now treble the price. He's just not the guy, but yeah, the price. How many goals am I getting? You know, I want somebody that I know is going to score. You don't know anything, but I don't want somebody who I feel like, we're choosing because of aesthetics. And I do feel like Ekitike is on the better side of the aesthetics kind of side. Like there are some players that just are aesthetically pleasing to watch. And so we're so obsessed with Henri that we want to replicate that in some way. And Henri's aesthetically was out of this world. He had all the things, but like aesthetically, it looked good. And so if you kind of look like that, then it's like, okay, I want you too. But like Henri got sick numbers. Like his numbers were like outrageous. And I'm not sure that Ekitike is going to have the numbers that we need. Remember, Bundesliga attackers play in a completely different atmosphere than we do in the Prem. Nobody translates worse than a Bundesliga attacker. Nobody. Say what you want about Ligue 1, say what you want about La Liga. Nobody translates worse than a Bundesliga attacker. So I'm cutting that shit in half. He's got 13 goals. As far as I'm concerned, you got 7. So I'm not, no. It's aesthetic bias to me. Social Joy says, apart from Jokeris, everyone else is the flavor of the month hype job. I think the only other player that has a long enough CV where you know that he is a bagsman and he will get 20 goals or will be able to withstand is probably Osimhen. He's the only one that has enough of a CV where you'd be like, okay, you could probably do it, but everybody else is like, ill. Ryan says, you taking Leao if the opportunity comes. You guys know how I feel about Leao. I feel like he has such like he has great highlights, but consistently he doesn't put in those levels of performances. So am I going to get the odd wonder goal here or there, but am I going to be frustrated that his overall consistency is just not there? Because the requirement for Arsenal is that what you put out for, those wonder goals and stuff, that's got to happen more often. I don't think it happens enough because we only really see the clips, online when he does well. But there's plenty of games that go by when he's really disappointing. He's not even really like consistently starting for AC Milan. I don't know, because the amount that he would cost, it would worry me. He's 26 and people still talk about him like he's some young up and coming, and he's really not. He's like fully 26 now. So I don't know. I don't know about Leao. I don't know about Leao. I just feel like there's too many games where I watch and I'm like, he didn't do shit, but then there's the odd wonder goal that comes and people are like, nobody can do that. Nobody can do that, fam. Only he can do that, fam. He's special. He's generational. And I'm just like, oh my God, fuck my life. What happened to Leao? He has the talent, but he don't start for Milan even with the new manager. It's because he's inconsistent. I'm fucking crying. I can't put Martinelli on TikTok. Give me a TikTok baller. I'm fucking dead. Johan says Leao's football IG is very mid, or IQ. I think is very mid. Social Join says, I take Leao, dominant trait. I'm sorry he gets in the positions Trossard and Martinelli gets in 2 scores, creates. No, I hear that, man. Like I'm the options at left wing are not amazing. So you kind of have to look at what's there. And so you have like Lookman, who I think most of us are like, he could be on the list, but he wouldn't be my number 1. You have Leao, that's more of like a super big risk with the money attached to it. You have Nico Williams, that seems to have like is a one, like kind of like a runaway bride type that's always trying to like just get out of it when it's time to really put up or shut up, scared to leave Spain or whatever. So I'm not sure really what we'll do, but we know we need to bring in that winger, and it's been reiterated multiple times by multiple sources that it's really important for us to get it done. So I'm expecting Berta to come up with something good, but Leao scares me. He scares me because he just feels like This is gonna sound so harsh, but it's giving Pepe. Jordan says we need just doing a Scouse accent. I still can't do that one, man. I just do my like usual, like whatever, man. I did say it's giving Pepe. I did say it's giving Pepe. It's giving Pepe in the way where his highlight reel is really, really good because he can do special things, but it's not consistent enough. Where more often than not you'll be disappointed, but the odd wonder goal, because make no mistake about it, Pepe had a special thing that he could do, but it didn't come enough. It was too inconsistent. That's what I mean about it's giving Pepe. Don't even start with the bullshit. I know what you're about to start doing. I'm not saying it's Pepe because he also played for Lille or whatever, or he's a dark-skinned man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's giving Pepe with the inconsistency and spending that amount on somebody he's not even better than Pulisic at AC Milan. So letting Pulisic snatch your chain gives me pause. It does. It gives me pause. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying he's just like seriously at Pepe's level. I'm just saying it's similar to me. It's similar. I don't want to hear about whatever you guys are talking about. Stop that nonsense. AMD says, "How is the Barca game going?" I have no idea. Is anybody watching? Is it a color thing? See, I knew you guys are unserious. Johan says the strikers from Serie A don't translate either in the Premier League. Josh said Pepe bagged. Oh my gosh, you guys are disgusting. I don't want to hear about that. Branto says just a new face on the left, man. Martinelli is draining. We could do with Pepe right now. I tell you what. Foxy says Leao wouldn't even be in my top 20 options. You would be expecting top tier consistency with the wages and the fee he would cost. He's never been the guy. It's concerning. But I don't think we'll get I don't think we're gonna get him. I don't know. I'm looking at that feels more like a Chelsea thing to me to get him, not an Arsenal thing. And maybe that's a problem. Like we're not going for this level of player or this, but there's a 175 million euro attacker. In what world is he worth that? Like, come on, man. Like Nico Williams, just stop being afraid to leave, man. He's scared to go. It's getting on my nerves now. It's time to put up or shut up, man. You're a tease. Blaze says, to be fair, Pepe came to Arsenal when Arteta wasn't here and the team wasn't good like it is today, but he was inconsistent. He used to give me headache. The day that I think I was fully done with Pepe was when we played against Olympiacos at home and went out in the Europa League in the round of 32. I think that was it. I still think there's clips and videos out there of people saying, just pass it, just shoot. And he's just cut, move. And I literally thought I was going to have to jump off of the nearest cliff. I was like, please drive me to the nearest cliff and push me off. I cannot watch Pepe anymore. I threw my phone up against the wall during that game because I knew we were about to do the worst thing I've ever seen us do. And Pepe was a big part of that headache for me. So that was the day I was done with him. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Like pass the fucking ball. Pepe wanted to play ISO ball all the time. Those were dark days. They were dark, super dark. We have to move the club to La Liga if we want all these Spanish players. Social Join says, still think there was a dodgy clause in Pepe's contract. His exile was bizarre and weird. We'd rather play players to the ground instead of play Pepe. I think Arteta, but I feel like Arteta had a point to prove in those days that if he didn't like a player, he wanted them gone, and I think he did that by icing them out. He doesn't do it as bad now, but back then, if he didn't want you, he iced you the fuck out. Like he iced you out, and he did that with many players. During that time, I think he had to put his foot down to get the club to understand that whether we bought these players before and they were really expensive and they're on huge wages, you need to get them out of the club. I don't think there was anything about a clause. I just think Arteta was like, I don't want this player. You know, I think what was wrong was Arteta playing Willian for so long because Pepe actually, I think, started the season well, and then he started playing Willian, and then it was just like, just what are you doing? You know, it was just weird. AMD says, who can we realistically sign for left wing? Anyone but Leao. Nobody in the Prem. I mean, you can't get Gordon. Matoma would cost a shit ton. You know, it'd be nice if there was a nice little winger down there by Leicester and them that we can go take, but there's not. You know, so honestly, I don't know outside of Nico Williams or Leao. I'm doing that. It's not my job to know. Berta, you need to go figure it out. You know, because I don't know. The left wing market is insanely bad. It's worse than the right wing, like significantly, I think. So I don't know. Maybe Foxy has some options from the Mexican league that he's been watching, but I don't have the answers to this. It's just, let's see, Gabriel Martinelli. I mean, y'all want Adama Traore? Is he good enough? Malik Fofana from Lyon, but he looks young and unproven, really. Rashi, you know, these are the people that are kind of like similar to Martinelli. Garnacho, Harvey Barnes. This is bleak. Gittins, you know, Chelsea are going after Gittins. Should we be going after Gittins? You got Matoma. I would take Matoma in a heartbeat. I just know he'd be super expensive. Who are these people? Oh my gosh. No, Semenyo, absolutely not. I'm such a hater. He's just the player that I've decided to just like really just like dislike. I do not want him. I'm so sorry. Let's go get Anthony. Fuck it. Adeyemi. Might as well. Those are your options. Rashford missed his window. I'm not trying to move like Chelsea. Boy says we're gonna loan Rashford next season. I'm just accepting it now. Resign Iwobi. Semenyo, not at the level, versatile, but that's not enough. We need players to the bench. I mean, there were people gagging for this guy a couple months ago, and I was like, get off your knees, man. Come on, let's be honest. Editile says, still think we need an ISO monster at left wing. If not left wing, throw the book at Turkey. So yeah, we'll see what we do. But let's go ahead and get out of here. We've talked for 2 hours about absolutely fuck all, right? But onwards and upwards. Next game, Real Madrid. So we'll see how it goes. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel on your way out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon. Love y'all. Bye.